keeping the lights on, but at what cost? Dozens of small energy companies have popped up in the past few years, encouraged as competition to the big six. But soaring gas prices have already forced 7 out of business since the start of the year and left dozens of others, like Bulb, on the brink. It was only 2 months ago that they were visited by the Prime Minister. Now the firm is seeking a bailout to survive, but the business secretary said no taxpayer cash would be forthcoming.
The government will not be bailing out failed companies. There will be no rewards for failure or mismanagement. The taxpayer should not be expected to prop up companies which have poor business models.
And many in the industry agree with him that companies who offered cheap deals to customers without planning for future price rises shouldn't now be saved.
Do I think those energy businesses should be bailed out? No, I don't. I think they're, if you're running a risky, unsustainable energy business, then you frankly had it coming.
A number of factors have caused the spike in gas prices: a particularly cold winter, reduced supply from Russia, and increased demand from Asia. The consequences could reach far beyond higher energy prices, with the farming industry warning that shortages of meat supplies could now follow. Some analysts have even predicted scenes reminiscent of the 3-day week, something the government was keen to dismiss.
There is absolutely no question, Mr. Speaker, of the lights going out or people being unable to heat their homes. There'll be no 3-day working weeks or a throwback to the 1970s.
The Prime Minister on the global stage today during a visit to the US, asked to address the global energy crisis, came up with a muddled metaphor about the world recovering from COVID.
What you're basically seeing is it's like when there's been a serious frost in your house and all the pipes are frozen. Then the big thaw comes, and that's when you have the problems and the leaks. You're seeing problems in the supply chains. Very strong demand for gas around the world is producing this phenomenon, but we're going to fix it.
But can he fix political problems brewing back home?
Families are facing a triple whammy: rising energy prices, national insurance rises, and at the end of this month, the £1,000 cut in universal credit. If he really wants to tackle fuel poverty, isn't it time, even at this late stage, to cancel this terrible decision on universal credit?
No one doubts that there remain challenges around poverty, around child poverty, around those who are in destitution. But is a £20 uplift across the board the answer to that problem? We need more targeted help for those who are in destitution, but also more targeted help for those on the verge of getting into work.
But taxpayer cash could still be used to prop up the energy market, with plans for subsidies still being discussed. So despite the government's insistence that customers will be protected, it could still be the public that picks up the bill.
Well, the crisis that is cutting down many gas suppliers has raised questions about how vulnerable the energy market in this country has become to global shocks. Our economics correspondent, Helia Ebrahimi, is in the newsroom. So what are the lessons so far for how we run the energy market?
Well, we have this perfect storm of problems which have added up to an acute energy crisis. Tonight, one energy boss told me that the regulator was culpable for the current mess. Along with the government, they were so desperate to give the impression of more competition to challenge the big six that the bar for new entrants was too low, like allowing a bank to take deposits without checking if they had the right capital requirements in place. But there are wider problems, Krish, with the energy market in this country. Ministers have been very good about vocalising their net zero strategy, but they haven't invested in the messy bit of how we get there, or energy security, and that's left this country exposed to global shocks. Gas is still the single biggest contributor to energy, despite the fact that domestic production has fallen. And the big issue here is that green energy is still intermittent. And over the summer, the wind has been unusually still. Now, that would be fine if we had large strategic gas reserves to fall back on, but we don't. In 2017, a storage facility was closed and the government chose not to rebuild, deciding to leave it to the market. Well, guess what? Private companies, each competing for profits, didn't bother either. Now, capacity for storage is less than 2% of annual demand. The UK can hold just 9 terawatt hours, compared to 113 in France, 148 in Germany, and 166 in Italy.
Right, but this isn't just about the market, is it? There is international energy politics at play as well.
Well, half of our gas supply comes from the North Sea, with another third coming directly from Norway. But the remainder provided basically by Qatar and Russia is more problematic. Over the summer, Russia held back gas supplies to Europe, with critics saying the maneuver was intended to force Europe's hand in finalising the controversial gas pipeline that links Russia to Germany. But it's also the pandemic which has caused huge economic upheaval, with the Asian recovery in recent months guzzling up gas demand and pushing prices up higher, which has shot up from under 40p last year to over 184p today. That's almost a 5-fold increase, and it's that dramatic increase that's proven fatal for so many business models for UK energy suppliers.